The Philippines is such a beautiful country, full of wonders that never fails to amaze everyone. It's beautiful enough that many Filipinos transform what they experience about the country into a beautiful masterpiece, making the art in the Philippines popular even across the world. Good day everyone, we are the Group 1 and today we are going to explore the diverse and rich arts of the Philippines. By the way, I'm Francis K. Collado. Let us first begin with the artwork that I chose to present to you. The title of this artwork is Planting Rice with the Mayon Volcano in the Distance, created in 1949. This painting reflects the arrivals of the Americans in the Philippines and the idealism of the artist to the Philippine society. This painting reflected the people's desire to escape from a complicated reality into simplicity. The branch or the type of this artwork is visual art in the form of painting, painted by the Filipino artist Fernando Amaro. In terms of the subject, we have the source of the subject, which is history, and the focus is everyday life and landscape. It shows how the Filipinos are being hardworking in terms of agriculture, planting rice in the field near the Mayon volcano. Presentation of subject is realism, and the content is a factual meaning, because planting rice, or this art, portrayed happy Filipinos villagers in their bright clothes and straw hats working together. Behind them is a releasing a peaceful plume of steam rises the beautifully symmetrical cone of Mayon volcano. The relationship between the volcano and the surrounding landscape is depicted as a positive, fruitful, and harmonious one. Now, in the elements, we have lines. We can see that there are horizontal lines that separates the Mayon volcano from the rice field. Diagonal lines, which indicates the movement or action as may be seen in the posture of the farmers leaning downward as they plant rice. And there are actual lines, such as the perfect mimic of the Mayon volcano's shape. And in shape, we have geometric shape, the perfect cone shape of the volcano, and organic shape, which have a natural appearance like the trees and the grass, and irregular shapes like the farmers' movements and their reflection in the water of the field. In terms of space, there is an overlapping and relative size in the painting. There are 7 farmers in front and 1 at the back with a carabao, which emphasized by the help of linear perspective of the rice field going farther the Mayon volcano. In terms of color, the color is pastel. There are different shapes of color of greens and blue, which helps to enhance the mood of a province life. The contrasting color of the blue sky helped to emphasize the Mayon volcano shape. Amaro brought out warmth in such subjects such as working in the fields. It set the standards and dominated the art scene with its peaceful life in the rural. This is where I end my presentation. Let's hear some more of the arts of the Philippines to be discussed by the next reporter.
Good day everyone, this is Angiele Amaro from BPED 4C, and I will going to discuss the Paoay Church. Let's start with the history. The earliest historical record of the area dates back to 1593, becoming an independent Augustinian parish in 1686. Building of the present church was started in 1694 by Augustinian friar Father Antonio Estavillo, completed in 1710 and rededicated in 1896. Some portions of the church were damaged in 1865 and 1885 earthquakes, but was later restored under the initiative of former First Lady Imelda Marcos. In addition, the San Agustin Church was rebuilt 3 times due to the man-made and natural disasters. Since then, it has withstood natural disasters and has become the oldest church in the Philippines. It is now recognized by the government and UNESCO as the historical landmark. The Paoay Church branch type is visual art. The form is architecture and it is functional. The artist is Padre Antonio Estavillo. For the subject, the sources of the subject of art is religion, and the focus is religious and mythology. Of course, this is a church where the people gather for the mass. And the influence is martial law and Baroque architecture. And the content of it is functional meaning, because this is a church. Again, this is a church, and the people uses this church for gathering mass. And the elements are height, area, space, length and width, and the texture. And that will be all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Melissa T. Bautista from BPED 4C. So the artwork that I chose is the Manunggul Jar. The cultural treasure found in early 1960s in Manunggul Cave, Lipuon Point, Palawan is a secondary burial jar. The upper portion of the jar as well as the cover is incised with curvilinear scroll designs and painted with natural iron or hematite. On the top of the jar cover or lid is a boat with two human figures representing two souls on a voyage to the afterlife. So the boatman is seated behind the figure whose hands are crossed on the chest. The position of the hands is traditional Filipino practice observed when arranging the corpse. So for the branch or type, we have visual art. For the form, it is carving, which is the functional. Functional because Manunggul Jar is a burial jar, so it has a direct usage. Nagagamit ito ng direkta, napapakinabangan ng mga tao at hindi lamang pang-design. So for the artist or the artisan, we have the artisan. Artisans because artisans' works are useful, relevant, and essential in our daily life. They serve us for a long time, supplying us with directly functional arts. So let's move on to the subject. So for the source of subject, we have mythology. So for the focus, we have mythology, and for the presentation of subject, we have impressionism. So let's move on to the content and the elements. So for the content, we have subjective meaning. Subjective meaning because it has personal meaning from a private symbolism, objects, colors, or experience. So alam naman natin na ang Manunggul Jar ay burial jar. So yung secondary burial jar, nilalagay dito yung pinrasas na buto o yung sinunog na buto ng taong namatay o ng mahal natin sa buhay na namatay in a reburial after the corpse decomposed. So yung mga buto ay nililinis muna, hinuhugasan, then sometimes painted before being placed in the jar. So the last one is for the elements. We have line, shape, color, texture, balance, and emphasis. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone. I am a Christian J. Kayanga from group number 1 and I am going to report or extract the Spolarium paintings. So Spolarium is one of the most painting in the Philippines. Spolarium was the name given to the Roman Colosseum basement where fallen gladiators were thrown in after combat, which is depicted in the life-size piece. So, ang Spolarium ay salitang Latin na tumutukoy sa basement ng Roman Colosseum, kung saan ang mga nahulog at namamatay na gladiator ay itinatapon at wala na sa kanila ang makamundong pag-aari. So, when we say gladiator, ito yung isang taong nakikipag-away hanggang sa kamatayan bilang pampublikong libangan para sa mga sinaunang Romano. Next is the origin history. The painting features a glimpse of Roman history centered on the bloody carnage brought by gladiatorial matches. So, a historical painting, it was made by Luna in 1884 as an entry to the prestigious exposition The Bellas Arts in Madrid Art Exposition in May 1884 and eventually won for him the first gold medal. So the period and the era is Romanticism. So Spolarium by the Filipino artist Juan Luna is a manifestation of Romantic period, primarily because of the visual elements depicted in the painting. Or pagpapakita ng romantikong panahon, pangunahin dahil sa visual elements na inilalarawan sa pagpipinta. So, basically, ang Spolarium ay binibigyan diin ang paglabag sa karapatang pangtao ng mga colonizers or Spanish colonizers at ipinapahayag ni Juan Luna ang kanyang pagiging makabayan sa pamamagitan nito. So, why did Juan Luna painted Spolarium? He actually indicated the purpose of Juan Luna for painting a Spolarium na upang gisingin ang mga Pilipino mula sa kamangmangan, pagkabulag o kadiliman ng pag-iisip at pang-aapi. So, matatagpuan ito sa National Museum of Fine Arts in Manila. So, next is the branch or type. So, it is a visual art. So, the Spolarium is usually interpreted as visual metaphor or representation of suffering the Filipino people experienced during the Spanish colonial period. Next is the form. It is a painting or non-functional. So, the Spolarium is an oil painting on poplar. Next is artists or artisans. So, Spolarium is a painting by a Filipino painter, Juan Luna. So, working on canvas, he spent 8 months completing the painting which depicts dying gladiators. Next is the subject. It is objective. So, Spolarium depicts bloody or naglalarawan ng mga dugo ang bangkay ng mga alipin ng gladiator na kinakaladkad palayo sa arena kung saan nila naaaliw ang kanilang mga Romanong amo sa kanilang buhay. Next is the focus. It is history and legends. So, the painting features a glimpse or isang sulyap sa kasaysayang Roma na nakasentro sa maduguang pagpatay na dala ng mga laban ng gladiatorial. Next is the presentation of subject. So, it is realism. So, realism encompasses all genres including landscape and portraits. And if we look closely to the Spolarium, so, makikita ito na isa sa maalamat na Pilipinong pagpipinta sa ating kasaysayan. Ang Spolarium na dakilang si Juan Luna ay tiyak na isang magandang halimbawa ng realistang sining. So, ito ay madilim, it's dark, reviving, and captures the hardship of the dying gladiators. Next is the content, message, or meaning. So, it is factual meaning or message. So, Spolarium represent the pagmamalupit or pastiness of the upper tire power to the lower tires by making them to fight to death and abusing their power. So, ang Spolarium ay kumakatawan sa pagmamalupit. Next is the elements. The elements is lines, light, shape, and time. So, the formal elements of that are shown in the paintings are lines, light, shape, and time. So, lines can be evident in the painting by the lines in the floor and implied lines that is made by the bodies in the painting. And light is being used here because the artist used artificial light to portray the darkness of the room. Then the people in the painting represent the shapes, and the time is shown because we know that this painting is a painting that was made to show the old times. So that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Janzen Joy A. Bano, and I'm going to present one of the arts in the Philippines, which is the Madonna of the Slums by Vincent Manansala. But first, let me give you a short introduction of him. So, Vicente Silva Manansala was a Filipino cubist painter and illustrator. He studied at the UP School of Fine Arts. He is also popularly known for his artworks because most of his artworks depicts and address the contemporary Filipino life such as issues of intimacy, poverty, and culture. And one of his famous artwork is the Madonna of the Slum. So let's talk about the origin or history of this painting. Since most of the Manansala's artwork are inspired by reality or based on people's identity, so he come up to this idea. Madonna of the Slum is said to be the portrayal of a mother and child from a countryside who became urban shanty residents once in a city. It was created on 1950 or during the golden age of capitalism, and it is considered the key modernist in 1950s. Then the type of this artwork is visual art in the form of non-functional arts, which is painting. Non-functional because paintings are good for decoration. Then the subject in terms of kinds is objective because it is clearly, easily recognizable subject matter, the mother and the child. Then the focus is portrait. Then the content is conventional because the message of the painting may vary on the audience. We have different interpretations about it. But for me, the message is Madonna of the Slums expresses sadness. The subject might be wondering what to eat, where to go, or what they should do next. They are also depicted as being poor. So as you can see on the painting, Madonna is dressed poorly, while her child is dressed in nothing at all. When I first saw the artwork, I assumed it was about the mother and her child who were homeless and staying in the city slums or squatters area. Then the presentation is realism because the artwork looks realistic, accurate, and true to life. Lastly, the elements are colors, lines, shape, texture, space, and pattern. Thank you!
So hello everyone, my name is Girly P. Corpus and I will going to discuss my views in Philippine arts, and this is the making of Philippine flag by Fernando Amorsolo. So one of the most hotly debated aspects of the Philippine flag is its precise shade of blue. A letter from Apolinario Mabini reportedly stated that the flags should be sky blue. Azul Celeste, while Agoncillo's daughter, also named Marcela, attested that it was meant to feature navy blue, Azul Marino. Meanwhile, an 1898 letter from La Solidaridad co-founder Mariano Ponce included an illustration of the flag sporting a shade of blue somewhere in between Azul Oscuro. Let's move to branch type. Form, artisans, artist. Branch type, visual arts. Form, it is functional. Artist, he is Fernando Amorsolo. Okay, so let's move to subject, content, elements. So source of subject, it is history, beliefs, and symbol. Content, it is factual, meaning, and elements. Height is 184 cm. Area, space, length and width is 184 cm by 97 cm. The texture is silk. So that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Karen A. Quaresma from BPED 4C, and for today's video, I will going to discuss the La Siega 1961 by Fernando Amorsolo painting. And now, let's move on to La Siega history. In 1961, the actual rural life pattern itself changed as much as the countryside changed. But Amorsolo painted his peasant as timeless figure cloth in the same manner as he did before the war. La Siega depicts farmer doing heartbreaking jobs with the same body language as how Thomas Hart Benton would depict the farmers of rural America. But the analogy ends there. Amorsolo's La Siega embodies sweetness and light. The life he chose to portray on canvas invariably brims with good cheer, serenity, casual, grace, optimism. Next is the branch or type, is visual art. The form is painting. Artist-artisan is Fernando Amorsolo. Next is the subject, kind, representational and objective. The focus is the everyday life. Presentation of subject are realism and fauvism. The content of this painting is factual meaning, and the elements of this painting are lines, shape, colors, textures, and form.
I'm Crizel G. Quaresma and I'm going to discuss you about the Tampuhan. So let's start with the history of Tampuhan. Tampuhan, meaning sulking, is an 1895 classic oil on canvas impressionist painting by Filipino painter and hero Juan Luna. It is a depiction of two persons in a living room of a house. The two people are Filipino lovers sulking or experiencing tampo because of an argument or a misunderstanding. The two people in this painting shows an uncommunicative mood because of the man is looking outside while the woman is behind the man looking on the floor. The painting also shows the design of a house during 1895, which is consists of windows made from capis, the detailed balustrade, the highly polished floor, and the Vienna chair. The man is looking out on the street from the balcony. The woman, on the other hand, is focusing her eyes on the floor. According to Rosalinda Orosa, the owner of the painting, the man is Ariston Bautista, a friend of Luna who studied medicine in Europe. Then she said that the woman is Emiliano Trinidad, the ancestor of the owner of the painting. Tampuhan branch type is visual art, form is painting, artisan is Juan Luna. He is not only a hero but also an artist, and it is non-functional because it is in direct usage, and it is also called art practitioner. And for the subject, it is kind of objective. It is focused on portrait and history, and the presentation of subject is abstraction. And for the content, it is factual meaning because it's easily to recognize. And for the elements, there are lines, shapes, texture, color, and space.
Good day everyone, I'm Vincent Abul from BPED 4C. Now let us discuss the arts in Ilocos region, which is the Inabel. It is said that true lasting beauty is rare to find. Upon discovering Inabel, a unique hand-woven fabric native to the Ilocano region in the Philippines. Coming from the root verb abel, which means to weave, Inabel fabric is woven on ancient handloom using specific techniques handed down through generations. The distinctive fabric is used to create beautiful blankets, pillowcases, table mats, sweaters, and shawls. Now let us move on to the history or origin of Inabel. History records that cotton loom woven textiles called Inabel were rooted traditions that time the Spanish colonized Ilocos Norte in 1572. The forefathers of the Ilocano region practiced weaving until industrializations and the common trade took over the small village enterprises. However, weaving is still the primary source of income for the women in the region, who understand the delicacy of their trade and are fighting to keep the tradition alive. The branch or type of art is visual art. The form is weaving because it is made by the weaver. The artists or artisans of Inabel are the Ilocano women from Ilocos, which are the weaver of Inabel. The subject is objective because it will portray the real object which is recognized by the most people in Ilocos region. The focus of Inabel weaving is history, to preserve and treasure the ancient traditions of their ancestors who started the Inabel weaving. The presentation of subject is realism because the Inabel weaving is developed objectively real things. The content is conventional meaning because Inabel weaving has a special meaning to the particular culture or group of people in Ilocos region. The elements of Inabel are lines, shapes, color, and texture. As we see, it has vertical and horizontal and zigzag lines. We can also notice the shapes like diamond, and also the actual texture that refers to the real look of the objects.
Okay, now let us move on to the Eastern Visayas region or the Region 8. And the artwork that I chose is San Juanito Bridge. Let us start with the history of San Juanito Bridge, as the late President Fidel Marcos dedicated it to his wife, Imelda, who was known as the Rose of Tacloban. It served as a birthday gift and testimonial of his love for her. The San Juanito Bridge connects to the island of Leyte and Samar by linking the city of Tacloban to the town of Santa Rita, Samar. Construction of the bridge commenced during 1969 presidential campaign. It was finally completed 4 years later in 1973. It was inaugurated on July 2 in celebration of Imelda Marcos' birthday. The San Juanito Bridge was once called the Marcos Bridge because it was built under his administration. Also, it is the longest bridge not only in the Philippines but also in the Southeast Asia. But it destroyed with the Typhoon Yolanda, but after 4 months, it reopened. And the branch or type of San Juanito Bridge is visual art, and for the form is architecture. And the artist of the San Juanito Bridge is Engineer Alvin Valderrame and Christian Maynard Bernal. They are artisan. And also it is functional because it long-lasting, and they are also called as craftsmen. And for the subject of this art is objective, because it is a real portrait and recognized by the most people by its useful function, mostly of the residents of Samar and Leyte. And for the focus of this art is nature, because its inspiration to his love to her wife, that's why he fulfilled to finish this project. Presentation of subject. It is realism because it's objectively real things are formed. And for the content of art, symbolic meaning under the subjective meaning because it's for private symbolism or personal meaning which it show the love of President Marcos to his wife. And lastly, for the elements is line. Under the line, there are actual lines, whom the artisan intentionally showed the lines in an art. From an aerial view, the shape of the bridge is letter L when you are approaching Leyte side, and letter S on the part going to Samar. And also under the line, there is curved line. It is curvilinear. And for the design of San Juanito Bridge is arc-shaped truss bridge. And also it is relative side and linear perspective because the farther the object is from the viewer, the smaller is the size of the object.
Good day everyone! So ngayon naman ay magpupresent tayo sa Arts and Crafts of Mindanao. So one of the Arts and Crafts of Mindanao is the what we call Maitum Jar. So this Maitum Jar is one of the anthropomorphic pots found in Ayub Cave in Sarangani province. So let us look on its origin and history. So as we can see, the Maitum Jar is one of the anthropomorphic pots during the Metal Age or date back 190 BC to 500 AD. So as we can see, these jars have characteristics that belong to the developed Metal Age period. So kung makikita natin, ito yung kauna-unahan. So Neolithic and then Metal Age, ito yung kauna-unahang period na kung saan na-introduce yung art sa atin or dito sa Philippines. And then when it comes to its design, it suggests human figures with complete or partial facial features of the first inhabitants of Mindanao. So sinasabi na itong anthropomorphic pots daw na ito or yung Maitum Jar na ito ay hango yung figure dun sa mga first inhabitants ng Mindanao. So, yung mga sinaunang tao na nakatira sa Mindanao. And also, this one symbolizes daw. So, this anthropomorphic pot or the Maitum Jar ay sumisimbolo daw siya sa paniniwala ng mga first inhabitants ng Mindanao sa life after death. So now, let's proceed to its branch and type naman. So of course, since this was a jar or a burial jar, isa siyang visual art. And then when it comes to its form, ceramic art ang tawag dito sa form na ito dahil yung ceramic art is one of the art form na matatagpuan natin dito sa Pilipinas. And then when we say ceramic art kasi, this is the process of creating an object by the use of clay. It includes the pottery, yung paggawa ng mga figurines. And then, ano ba yung form nito when it comes to This one is a functional. Kasi it has a direct usage and totally direct na nagamit siya ng mga inhabitants ng mga sinaunang tao sa Mindanao during that time or during the Metal Age era. So, ano ba? Artisan ba siya or artist? So, since this is a functional, functional ang form niya, ibig sabihin siya ay gawa ng isang artisan kasi kapag sinabi nating artisan, they are the one who create a craft or yung mayroong mga direct usage or direct na nagagamit siya ng mga tao. And then, let's proceed to its subject. So, as we can see, ang source ng subject nila or ng source ng subject na ito, ng Maitum Jar, ay mythology. So, bakit ko ba nasabing mythology? Because of course, during the Neolithic Age and Metal Age, wala pa naman tayong influence ng religion dito sa atin. So, hindi pa sa atin na ipapasa ng mga Spaniards yung paniniwala or yung religion. So, that's why mythology kasi ito nga yung paniniwala nila, nagawa nila yung Maitum Jar na ito because naniniwala sila into life after death. And then, focus. Ano naman yung focus nito? So, ang focus naman nito ay history and legends because of course, kaya naman kasi nila nagawa or hinulma nila yung Maitum Jar nito based doon sa mga first inhabitants daw. That's why history and legends, kumbaga, nag-base sila doon sa history or yung mga first inhabitants or yung mga unang taong nanirahan sa Mindanao. And then legends, of course. When we say legend, legends is kiniconsider natin tong fact kahit na hindi pa natin siya ganong napapatunayan. That's why legends, nakafocus din siya sa legends dahil ayun nga, naniniwala sila into life after death and kiniconsider din natin yun as fact kahit na hindi pa natin siya napapatunayan. Kaya yun yung focus niya, history and legends. And then the presentation of subject, ang ginamit sa kanya ay symbolism because of course, symbolism, kumbaga pag nakita mo yung Maitum Jar na yun, para sa kanila or sa mga gumawa ng art na yun, ay sinisimbolize nun yung life after death. And then let's proceed sa content. So, based doon sa mga nakalap kong ideas and information, then nagtanong-tanong din kasi ako and nag-send ako ng mga picture dun sa mga kakilala ko kung ano yung nakikita nila doon sa Maitum Jar na pinasa ko sa kanilang picture. And I found out na conventional ang meaning niya kasi mayroon silang iba't ibang meaning dun sa sinend kong picture. So, that's why conventional, mayroon silang special meanings, may iba-iba silang idea doon sa picture or dun sa Maitum Jar. And then, ano ba yung mga elements nito? Ayan, so kung makikita natin, makakakita tayo dito ng mga shapes, mga oval, circle, yan, and then lines of course. And then, ano ba yung texture? Texture nito. So, yan, isa siya sa mga elements is yung texture. Kasi, as we can see on this Maitum Jar, it has a hard surface, kung hahawakan mo siya. siguro. And nakikita naman siya sa picture na yung texture niya is kakaiba. Alam mo na hindi siya malambot at alam mo na matigas ang bagay nito. And then of course, balance. Kasi bakit nilagyan natin na balance? So as we can see, kapag mag-identify tayo ng isang art, balance is something na mayroong siyang kapares. And then halimbawa, ayan, yung kilay niya, meron siyang kilay dito and then meron din sa kabila. And then, ayun lang for my report. And again, this is one of the arts and crafts of Mindanao, the Maitum Jar. Thank you!
Good day to everyone. I am Laila Anjella B. Asuncion from BPED 4C. The subject that I choose in the arts in the Philippines is the Tinalak woven cloth represent in South Cotabato in Mindanao as a Region 12. So let's start in origin and history. Start in 1989, the Tinalak woven cloth. It is woven in order to celebrate and pay tribute to major life occasions such as birth, life, marriage, or death inside the community. The cloth is woven from abaca filaments. It is normally colored from dark roots and certain plants. So let's move on to the branch and type of the Tinalak woven cloth. This is the visual art, and the artist and artisan of Tiboli people, which is the artisan and craftsman. And the form is weaving, that is a functional, and we have a three-dimensional. The meaning of three-dimensional of Tinalak woven cloth is Tinalak is mataas, maluwag, exists in space with nahawakan siya and nakikita na bibili, and also nagagamit that category include the craft and the folk art. So now let's proceed to the subject and content. The source is the history, focus, history and legends, and influence indigenous people from South Cotabato. Ways of presentation, abstraction, levels of meaning, subjective meaning. And for the elements is the line, shape, colors, textures, balance, and textile. So that is the art of South Cotabato, which is the Tinalak woven cloth. Thank you so much.